In this video, we're going to take a look at how to view posts that students have created in discussions and how to contribute your own posts to discussions. The first thing that we want to talk about is the difference between two important terms, threads and posts. The term post is used to generally mean any contribution or posting made by an instructor or a student. It's really just a generic term for the discussions, and no matter whether you started a new discussion thread of conversation or replied to somebody else's thread, every contribution to a discussion is considered a post. The term thread is used to help us define how discussions are organized. A thread is essentially like a new line of conversation in a discussion. If it's the first post that's made in a discussion, for example, it will by default be creating a new thread of conversation. When you as an instructor or when another student enters the discussion, they have the choice to either reply to an existing thread or to create an entirely new thread in a discussion. The next important thing to note is that there are two ways you can view the discussions tool, the grid view and the reading view. Switching between these views is as easy as going to the settings menu in the top right corner of the discussions tool and selecting your preferred default view. The reading view allows you to see one thread of conversation at a time, and it's a great way to see a lot of detail at once for each thread. The grid view allows you to see more of an overview of the entire discussion topic at once. So let's take a look at the grid view first. And to do this, we're also going to make sure that our grid view is set to threaded so that we can see the discussion posts organized in threads just as we discussed. And let's also make sure that we have the preview pane enabled. And we'll see what that does in just a moment. We'll click Save here to save our settings. When we enter a topic in the grid view, it will take us to a page that has the list of discussion forums and topics on the left. We can expand those forums and see the individual topics here, and details about whichever topic is selected on the right. You'll see the topic description and instructions at the top of the page, and underneath that you'll see a list of all the individual posts organized into threads. Posts that are unread will appear as bold here. So right now we can see there are two threads in this discussion, one started by Jenny, my student, and one started by me. I haven't read Jenny's post yet, so it's bold. To read a post, I'll simply click on it, and the text from that post will appear in the preview pane below. So this is that setting that we chose to enable this preview pane, and if we didn't have that set, when we clicked on Jenny's post, it would open up in a pop-up window. And if you want to adjust the space between this preview panel and the details up here, you can simply drag this line in between these two windows to adjust that space. Now that we've read Jenny's thread, we can reply to that thread by clicking this reply button here. When you're creating your post, you'll see some standard editing tools that you're used to. And if you click on this dotted line button at the top right, you'll get some more advanced editing tools. And you can also use the spell check function at the bottom right of the screen. Once you're done typing, you'll hit post, and that will create your reply. So now that our reply is posted, we can see it show up here in this list. And we can see that this is a reply to an existing thread because it shows up slightly indented underneath that first post in the thread. So every thread here will be all the way to the left in the list, and each of its subsequent replies will show up indented underneath it. So that's how we create a reply to an existing thread. And if we wanted to create an entirely new thread of conversation, we could do that by scrolling up to Start a New Thread here. We click on that and we get the same window where we can create our post and post it in the discussion. So now let's take a look at this same discussion in the reading view. But before we do that, I'm going to delete my reply to Jenny here. and I'm going to mark her post as unread. So now when we go back into this discussion in the reading view, everything will be set the same way it was when we just went in and saw it in the grid view, so you can see the difference. I'll click Done here, go to my settings, and switch to the reading view. Now when we enter this topic in the reading view, you'll again see the list of forums and topics on the left. However, here you'll get a little number next to each forum and topic. That number tells you how many unread posts are in that particular forum or topic. So it's a really easy way to go through and see which topics have unread posts that you need to check, rather than having to click through all of them. On the right, again, you'll see the topic description and instructions for whichever topic is selected. Underneath that, you can see a list of all of the threads that have been posted in this topic. And in this view, again, the unread threads are marked bold here. And underneath each thread, you'll see some counters here. These show you a breakdown of the number of unread posts inside of this thread and the number of total replies and views by students in this thread. So this again is a great way to see which threads have unread posts in them. Now you also have the option to use a filter to just show you threads that have unread posts. You can activate that by clicking Unread at the top of this list here, and now you'll only see the threads that have unread posts. You can remove that filter by clicking on the X. And that's really helpful to understand because sometimes you might go into a topic and there won't be any threads listed here, and you'll think, well, I know that there have been some threads posted in here, and the reason you may not be seeing them is because you might have a filter activated by accident. So to go into one of these threads, we'll simply click on it. And again, here we can see there are no replies to this thread yet. So we'll go ahead and make one by hitting Reply to Thread. And we'll click Post. Now let's go back to that main topic view here. And now if we scroll down, we can see that there's one reply here. We can see that it was done by me. So that's how you reply to an existing thread in the reading view. And it's also how you view replies that other students have created for that thread. So in this view, again, to start a new thread, we'll click on the Start a New Thread button. And here we can enter our subject and type whatever we want. And in this example, let's say we want to post a reminder to students to view the guidelines for the discussion. So for this example, we're going to look at a function called pinning. If I click on this little button right here, it will pin my thread. And if I click Post, we'll see what that does. That pinned post here has a little pin icon. And what that does is that makes sure that this post here will always show up at the top of the list in the discussions, no matter how students are sorting things. So this can be really helpful for something like guidelines, where you always want it to stay at the top of a discussion. And finally here, we'll look at how to edit an existing post. Next to any of my posts, if I click this drop-down arrow and click on Edit, and it will now take you back into that post. You can edit it and click Update, and now you can see a little pencil icon which shows you that that post has been edited. So to wrap things up here, we looked at how to view our discussions in both the grid and reading view. We looked at how to view students' posts, how to reply to students' posts in threads, and how to create our own new threads of conversation. And finally, we looked at the ideas of editing our posts and also pinning our posts in the discussion. So we hope you enjoy using the discussions tool in your CCC online course.